Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. So I'm a few days late, but I feel it's important to discuss just in case nobody's seen the official announcement. This is in regards to the Forge of Daith mechanic that was introduced to the Sisters of Twilight for the Twisted and the Twilight DLC. For those not aware, if you've not played the Sisters just yet, the Forge of Daith mechanic was interesting but not perfect. Especially not for a main mechanic for a new paid for legendary lord. Before we continue, let's overlook what this mechanic currently is. So how does this mechanic work? Well, every few turns, for a small number of turns in all honesty, you'll be given a prompt, where you'll be able to select a special item forged by the Master Smith Daith. You can then use this item to equip it with one of your lords, most likely Naestra and Arahan. You'll have the option of a weapon, a piece of armor, a trinket, or a talisman. These items will be kept for forever. There'll be a decent number of events for a small period of time, after which you will no longer get to choose new weapons. The second part of the mechanic is through upgrading. As you eventually lead your forces to war, you'll be able to unlock an event which will allow you to upgrade your selected item. You can choose to either upgrade it permanently by a level, so say for example a blue item turning into a purple, or you can max it out as a whole for a certain number of turns in its most powerful form. After which, it will then revert to its original state, which is probably not the best way to handle it. Your very powerful item will then be turned almost useless, especially since Naestra and Arahan don't have any specific items tied to them, barring those that you'll get from Daith at the beginning of your campaign, but even then those have to be upgraded themselves. Now, in all honesty, the mechanic itself works okay, but there are indeed a few glaring issues, like for example, the weapon reverting back to its very first state. That's a bit of an issue, especially if you've upgraded the weapon before. My biggest problem with the mechanic itself is when you get given the choice of the 4 different items, you don't know exactly what you're going to pick up. You might have some decent weapons and armor at the moment, and you might need a trinket or maybe a talisman, but the problem is that it won't tell you what the item actually is. Thankfully, on the day of release, interestingly enough, Creative Assembly through their Total War pages released a statement in regards to this, which goes as follows. "We've heard your feedback regarding the Forge of Daith, and we're going to work to make various improvements. Short term, we're going to focus on implementing some changes that should deal with the most notable pain points raised in the last few days. Reforged items will no longer return to their base level upon expiring, instead will revert to the level they were before being reforged. Just jumping right in here, this will mean that your items will not basically be rendered useless, because after they've reverted to their pre-upgraded state, they tend to become, well, let's just be very honest, an item that you would rather just scrap. If you had the opportunity, of course. But let's continue. When you receive Forge of Daith dilemmas that can affect a maximum level item, you will be able to choose to reduce the time until the next Daith's Gift event. Naestra will no longer walk away without anything. She's generous, but not that generous. Quicker event times will lead to being able to get a bunch of new items very quickly. While this might not sound like it is going to be the most exciting change, you have to take into account that quicker items means more powerful lords. Especially during early campaign, if you can start getting earlier and stronger items, it should change your experience to feel like the items themselves are going to give you a stronger boost. Let's continue. We also want to do a pass on the item effects overall to ensure that they provide interesting and exciting gameplay choices. A look at the effects themselves is going to be quite beneficial. Sure, some of them are actually really good, whereas some of them are quite lackluster. So if they're going to give this another look, well, that's a victory. That's obviously all the stuff for short term. Now let's look at what they have planned for longer term. Longer term, we want to make continued improvements. While we don't want to make fundamental changes to the underlying gameplay and the UI, there are two areas in particular we want to focus on. 1. Letting you see in advance which item you receive from Daith's gift dilemma. Something like that would be fantastic, and I'm sure would make a lot of players happy. And the second point is investigating what new visual elements we can create to support the system. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not too bothered in regards to visuals. I want the effects and everything else to be fixed first, and visuals can come much later if anything. I know a few people will disagree, but I believe that fixing everything else is more of a priority. Lastly, they state, "We appreciate your feedback and patience so far, and are confident that we'll be able to work together to make the Sisters a truly unique campaign experience. As always, development is subject to change, so while this is currently the plan, we appreciate your patience and understanding if this changes in the future, and we will let you know if that is the case." Why is this important to highlight? Well, for one of two reasons. One, we are aware that they listen to community feedback, which, let's be honest, is a bit more than we get from a lot of other gaming companies. And secondly, the stuff that they've highlighted that they may want to change may not actually be the case in the future updates. So don't take Creative Assembly's word for stone through this statement. What they've told us could be radically different by the time that they introduce a patch. But the most important thing to take from this is that Creative Assembly are listening to the fanbase. And right now we don't know when any changes might come into effect. You have to bear in mind that Creative Assembly normally go into a Christmas break for their staff around this time of year, not long after a DLC launches. My guess is we might see a minor change in the form of a hotfix, and then maybe some bigger changes in January, but until then, that's all we can expect. What do you guys think about the possible upcoming changes? Do you like them, or do you think more is needed to change up the Sisters of Twilight? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. I'm rather curious to see what you think about the mechanics. I know that they're not very well liked, and I'll be very honest that I myself am more interested in Draika or Frot than the Sisters. And of course, yes, I know I'm a few days late to cover this, but I am aware that some people don't generally check up the Facebook posts, Twitter and so on, so I figured that this might be the best way to keep people informed. And we'll be back to our usual theory crafting very soon. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.